Movie footage used by the Akimli channel is owned entirely by the copyright holders. Akimli makes no claim of ownership and simply uses the footage for purposes of education, commentary, and criticism under fair use.
Hello everybody. My name is Akimli. I've been a bit busy in the post-apocalyptic landscape known as college, and I've had a small vacation to the hellscape known as Florida.
That knocked my hat off.
I also made this mask because I was bored and wanted to be unique, but I decided that enough was enough and that I had more important things to do, like talk about Fallout lore. In the world of Fallout, many terrible things have happened after the Great War of 2077. The surface obviously didn't have a good time, as most people died from the blasts or the radiation following it. Many would form into groups of raiders, slavers, settlers, or some other random faction to fight for the scraps of the old world. But that is a discussion for another day. Today, we are focusing on the vaults of the Fallout universe, specifically that of Vault 11, and why, in my opinion, the experimentation that took place there was the most successful to the Enclave, who had secretly overseen the highest authority of the US government, and, by extension, Vault-Tec. Today, we will look at Vault-Tec's most sadistic experiment that actually worked.
To start, let's discuss the foundation to the story. To understand why the vaults were created and how they were used for horrific experimentation, we must first understand the Enclave. If you already know Fallout lore to a decent extent, I recommend skipping to the next section. Also, the lore I discuss here is flying over so many of the Fallout games, and I recommend supporting the developers of these amazing video games by discovering it yourself, if you have not already. The Enclave are a group of high-ranking political, military, and corporate figures who had large influence over the pre-war government and its actions. While the Enclave had their hands involved with many corporations and conflicts before the Great War, the main thing I will look into today is the involvement with Project Safehouse. Project Safehouse was an initiative in the US that took place after the Euro-Middle Eastern War, New Plague, and the collapse of the United Nations. These events, which included the use of nuclear weapons, resulted in the world gearing themselves towards mutually assured destruction and the collapse of society. Project Safehouse promised the general population the ability to keep themselves safe inside of giant underground bunkers called vaults, and thus Vault-Tec was created to assist in the betterment of the future. However, this is only what the civilians of the US believed and were told. Vault-Tec was controlled by the Enclave and was a front for the experiments they would conduct on the human populace. The Enclave had goals of advancing towards space and colonizing it with a multi-generational spaceship. The Enclave used the vaults as a way to test the human condition and also what humans can survive. Very few people knew of the experiments and vaults, and even fewer knew of the Enclave's plans for the future. Out of the known 122 vaults, in the lore, it is revealed that only 17 were designed to work properly and actually protected its dwellers from the apocalypse. These 17 vaults were called control vaults. The other 105 vaults had a range of dark experimentation on them. However, today we are going to look at one of the darkest and most successful experiments of these 105 vaults. Vault 11.
Greetings, martyr, and welcome. If you're here now, it means you've been offered up as a sacrifice so that your vault can continue to thrive.
Vault 11 was one of the 5 vaults constructed in the broader Mojave region, and it was supposed to hold a significant civilian population. Of the 5 vaults, only Vault 3 was a control vault, and by the time the courier, our player, wanders the wasteland, none of the vaults are fully functional. With the exception of Vault 21, which was turned into a hotel and gift shop due to Mr. House taking control over the strip and destroying most of the vault.
I prefer the term autocrat.
If the courier was to be wandering near the 188 trading post or possibly on their way to Boulder City, they may deviate from the paths traditionally taken by caravans and stumble across the entrance to Vault 11. Vault 11 is unique, at least to me, in the fact that when you arrive at the vault, there is almost no challenge. At most other vaults, they have either been taken by raider gangs, such as the Fiends, or have dangers inside of them that make it dangerous for anyone to enter. Other than the occasional mantis or pest, there is nothing but silence and empty corridors. Skeletons line the vault, and signs of struggle and fighting are present. Whatever had happened here was not pretty. The courier can find many posters lining the walls that hint at a voting system that had been in place for the new overseer. But these posters have something rather peculiar about them. The posters slander individuals and try to use insults or affiliations to make them seem horrible, and then ask for these individuals to be voted overseer. You can definitely imagine that there are many mixed feelings when encountering this in-game. Progressing deeper into the vault, many sandbag barricades and traps show an even larger presence of a violent conflict that these posters hint at boiling over with something to do with the position of overseer. As the courier goes deeper into the vault and enters the overseer's room, they may open the terminal and discover a chamber underneath the room. And once they enter, they may finally understand the holotapes and posters that line the wall, and how this vault met its fate.
Begin again in the night. Let's sway again tonight. Your arm on my shoulder, your cheek against mine.
In the lore of Fallout New Vegas, Vault 11's experiment began almost immediately upon the dropping of the bombs, when the Vault computer informed the population of Vault 11 that they had to sacrifice one member of the Vault every year, or the entire population of the Vault would be killed. The only individual who had this knowledge before entering the Vault was the Overseer of Vault 11. The Overseer had limited knowledge, however, and was not able to tell the population how the Vault would be killed by the Vault computer if they did not comply. The dwellers of the Vault were disgusted by the actions of the Overseer and how they hid the truth from them before they entered the Vault, so they all universally decided to sacrifice them and any reliable information on the experiment that year. Once this was decided, the Overseer opened the sacrificial chamber, walked in, and then was never seen again. It was then decided that whoever was elected Overseer would serve their term ruling over the Vault, and then would be sacrificed to appease the computer. This tradition of sacrificing the Overseer would go on for a whopping 16 years, in which tension would mount higher and higher as the undesirables of society were voted out and it got harder to choose who should be overseer. By this time, 6 voting blocks were created: the Allied Service Workers Block, Divine Will Block, Human Dignity Block, Justice Block, United Vault Technicians Block, and the Utilitarian Block. These 6 powers would nominate and support the voting for a specific overseer candidate based on what they believed and who they disliked. This is why the posters found in-game are attempting to get people to vote for the opposing parties and also to vote for overseer. During the 16 years of voting, the blocks became extremely corrupt and basically had more authority than the overseer in some ways. Before the final election, the most powerful group, named the Justice Block, sexually assaulted a woman by the name of Catherine Stone, threatening to target her husband Nathan, who would then be voted overseer should she refuse them. Catherine had no choice to save her husband and gave in to the demands. However, in a cruel act of betrayal, the Justice Block targeted Nathan regardless. Catherine had a plan, however, and knew how to save her husband. She killed several members of the Justice Block, and the reprisal was swift. The Justice Block voted for her to be the overseer after hearing of their members' murders. Once Catherine Stone had been elected overseer, she enacted Overseer Order 745, which dissolved the voting system, and instead the Vault computer would decide at random. The remaining members of the Justice Block were horrified at the thought of losing their power, so they staged a coup to fight the overseer and resumed the election. The battle for control over the Vault was bloody and merciless. In the end, only 5 dwellers remained. Broken by the war that had taken place, the 5 remaining survivors laid down their weapons and united once more. They walked towards the sacrificial chamber and went in. They stated their intention of refusing to sacrifice anybody else to the Vault, and were met with a horrific answer from the computer.
Congratulations, citizens of Vault 11. You have made the decision not to sacrifice one of your own. You can walk with your head held high, knowing that your commitment to human life is a shining example to us all. And to make that feeling of pride even sweeter, I have some exciting news. Despite what you were led to believe, the population of Vault 11 is not going to be exterminated for its disobedience. Instead, the mechanism to open the main vault door has now been enabled, and you can come and go at your leisure. But not so fast. Be sure to check with your overseer to find out if it's safe to leave. Here at Vault-Tec, your safety is our #1 priority.
This message shook the remaining survivors, who walked towards the entrance of the vault and decided for one last ultimatum.
Are we really gonna do this? It's open. We could just leave.
I couldn't. Not after that.
We don't deserve to leave. A shining example. That's what it called us. But we were. We did what we were supposed to. Not by a long shot. Anybody would have done what we did.
You ask me? That's exactly the problem. Now let's get on with this.
I'll go first. Wait. People should know what happened. They could learn from it. If there's anyone out there at all, I hope they never have to find out. Ready, Harry? Yeah. No, wait!
Now, after looking over what happened in Vault 11, I know many of you may wonder why I consider it to be a success for the Enclave. From my point of view, this vault's failure and eventual decline is overshadowed by one terrifying factor. People were so scared of an empty threat that they were willing to sacrifice people for 16 years. Inside of this vault, people became power hungry and controlling and took advantage of their situation. And the worst of it all is that this authority that had been a paper tiger this whole time left only 5 survivors from its experiment, and only 1 left the vault alive. Seeing how the Enclave works in game, this is exactly what they wanted to happen. They wanted to see how far morality could be stretched and how long people would put up with the oppression in a confined space. If the Enclave were to ever reach for the stars in their current state, they would be a society that would need to keep its civilians in check. And if a small vault computer was able to reduce possibly hundreds of dwellers to only 5, with no real way of enforcing its will, then what's to say the Enclave can't do the same thing on its people as well? The sad thing about Vault 11 isn't that it ended the way it did. It's the fact that human self-preservation and emotion, especially in life or death situations, means that any sense of humanity goes out the window and can be used to people's advantage. So, real quick before this video ends and we roll credits, I do want to apologize for my lack of consistency with my channel, and I am also trying out new styles of video. Sure, people have covered the lore of Vault 11 many times over, but I love lore in most video games, especially Fallout. There is something so beautiful about being able to convey this message through media like a video game. Vault 11, to me, to moi, was a commentary on politics in the modern world and how they could devolve or make people hate each other. Sure, the sacrificing one person a year is fictitious, and the roles are reversed on the posters and the way people vote. However, I feel that there is a surprising amount of truth to the way people acted in this story. And most importantly, I think it's a bit of a warning. Regardless, I love doing lore videos like this one, so if you want to see more of the same, make sure to subscribe and like the video. It makes my brain have happy chemicals, and it also supports the channel. But, with that said, this is Akimli, out.